Hey guys, welcome here. In last lecture I showed you how prototype chain works. In this lecture we'll continue, we'll recapitulate some stuff from previous lectures, and I will show you how you can simplify constructor in a racing car class. So without any further waiting, let's start. Let's navigate back to our app.js and let's recapitulate how it's possible that we can call functions on empty string, on a boolean value, on a numeric value, and on an array. All of this data has some base class. So in a case of a string, it's created from a string class, all right? Then we have a boolean value, it's created from a boolean class. Then we have a numeric value, this is created from a number. Then we have an array, and this is created from array. So same as we are creating our cars from a car and a racing car from a racing car class, also these data are created from some classes. But there is a difference. We don't need to write it like this. So when I'm creating string, I don't need to say explicitly, so const some string, I don't need to say here a new string. But by the way, I can create like this also string. I can provide here a string value, and this will create a string value for me. But to simplify things, so we don't need to always write this for a string values or from primitive values as strings and numbers and so on, we can just provide here this expression and just assign here a string primitive value. All right, I will show you later how to what we can get from this syntax here. But remember, all of this data basically are created so from some base class. All right. So, all right, with this, let's debug our code and let's inspect string, boolean, and number and array. So let's write here a breakpoint on line 18. Let's run debugger here, and let's hover over a string here. When you will see this, you can inspect your prototype. All right. So prototype, and on prototype you have all of these functions and properties accessible. All right. Okay, so you can see here slice, you can see here sub-str, substring, and so on and so on. On Boolean, you have another prototype. On a Boolean, you don't have so much functions. Then you have here a numerical value, so a number here. On a number, let's see prototype. On a prototype, you have here to fix, to local string, to precision, to string, and so on. On an array, you have this prototype. So let's see here we have a length, map, pop, push. You saw a pop and a push before. You saw also for each. So let's look it up here. For each. All right, so for each is here. So that's why it's possible to call these functions and the properties on an empty string. So I can call here a slice, for example, split, and so on. All of this is accessible because we are creating this data from some base class, and it's getting to a proto of this data. So that's why we can call these functions. All right, so in a case of a string, I can call here a slice. In a case of an array, I can call here for each, and so on. So that's why. Okay. And by the way, in a case of a primitive data as a string, boolean, and numbers, this is working slightly differently because you are creating primitive data. But these data are related to a string class. In the case of a true, it's related to boolean class. Number is related to a number. So when you want to call function on an empty string, this string is transformed into a string object. All right, it's called autoboxing. When you are using primitive data and you are trying to call function, your string is transformed into a string object, and that's why you have accessible these functions from a prototype as we showed before. All right. Okay, so now you know how we're getting these mysterious functions. Nothing is really mysterious, so you can see there is explanations behind everything. And I told you that you can create also data similarly as we are creating our cars or racing cars for a string and booleans and so on. So I can say here const, let's say some string, or let's say name. I will assign here a new string. All right, oops, string, and I will get here Philip Jerga, so my name. All right. As you can see, I can create a string like this. I can console log this out, so I can console log name here. let's write here a breakpoint. Let's see what will happen. We have here a name string. You can see here it's a little bit different, as you can see, with our primitive values, but you can get here also primitive value. You can see here Philip Bjerga. And also you have here a proto, and on the proto you have a prototype of all the functions I showed you before, okay? So you have here length, for example, should have here slice, you should have here split, substr, substring, and so on. So all these functions are still accessible to you. So let's see what we will console log out here. We'll console log out here this structure here, so string, primitive, value Philip Bjerga here. If you want to get here a row value, now I don't know if I will remember this correctly, but I think there should be value of or something like this. Yeah, there is a value of. So I can just get here, oops, name and a dot value of. Oops, value of like this. Let's see what will happen now. I will reload this breakpoint, console log, and you can see I can get here a row value. All right, and I can call whatever I want on these functions I told you. I can call here. Let's say I will show you how can we call some functions. So I will get here const multiple names or name array, and I can call here function on a name called, and it is called split, and I can split here but by empty space. What this function does is that it will split this array by empty string. Okay, so it will look up at your string and it will see that there is a space, there is an empty space. This means I would like to separate this string by this empty space. So it will save these values in an array. So first value will be Philip, and then second value will be Bjerga, because I am saying here that I would like to split this string by empty space. If would I have here Philip, Bjerga, I would say here split by comma, then I would split by comma here. So first value in a name array would be Philip, and a second value in an array would be Bjerga. So let's take a look. I will console log here name array, and let's see what will happen. So let's run this name, split the name and name array. We should get here first value is a Philip and a second value is a Bjerga. So you can see you have available all the functions, all the properties of a strings when you are creating string from its class. Alright, and the same thing is happening when you are creating primitive values. That's why you have accessible all the functions and properties, because there is a process called autoboxing. So when you use a function on it, it autoboxes to its class it would be normally created from. Okay, so it knows that when we are using a function on a string, that this is closely related to a string class itself. So it's transformed into this string object, and that's why we can use these functions on them. But you can imagine when you are programming, you don't want to create an if statement, and you don't want to write here if a new boolean and then provide here true value. Okay, that would be too much of writing. You just write here true, right? So that's why we have a primitive values. Alright guys, so I went a little bit off track from this lesson, but I find it very important to understand this, because we'll be using a lot of functions just from strings, lots of functions from arrays, as you saw before, as a for each and so on. So keep it in this mind. This is not magically appearing on this data. It's there because there is some class that specified these functions. Alright guys, so as I promised to you, let's see our simplified version of constructors. So I will remove all of this. Alright, or I will just leave the cars here and I will keep here this. Alright. And I will remove this display info here. And what we will change here, I will comment this object prototype, or I can keep it here, but I will uncomment a racing car prototype display info here function. And a car function here, display info. Alright. Let's save this, and let's continue. Okay, so as you can see here, we are providing here 4 values to our racing car. So in a racing car, we are receiving these 4 values here. We specified here parameters, brand type here, and a category, and we are providing these parameters to superclass. We can always expect that the user, when we will create a car, will provide a brand type and a year. So instead of providing these parameters like this, we can say that we know that we will get these parameters, so we can specify here just something called spread operator, okay? So 3 dots, and I can call it, let's say, params, or I can say call it arguments or args, okay? And now, instead of these args, this will hold my three parameters, okay? But I don't need to specify 3 times as you saw before. I can just specify spread operator, args, and I will get all of these flattened parameters under args. Then I can get it here, and I can provide here to my super constructor, and I will get them to my superclass, all right? And then it's simply category I will get here manually because I know the last parameter is a category, so I will get a category and I will assign it to my category property here. All right, so let's see. Let's go to app.js. Let's write here a breakpoint on a racing car. Let's debug this as always, so you'll see what's happening, or actually, let's see what's happening here. Okay, constructor rest parameter must be last formal parameter. All right. Okay, so that's actually issue. Spread operator should be a last parameter. So let's change it like this. Let's go back to our racing car.js, and I will change here order. Okay, so first I will expect to get here my category, and the rest I will expect get here as the arguments here. All right, so category arguments are here. We need to change the order in our app.js. So first we are getting here category. So first we are providing category, and then we are providing the rest of these parameters here. Let's save this. Let's run a debugger. Let's get inside of our racing car constructor. And let's see, we are getting here arguments. Can I hover over and see actual value here? Actually, I think I cannot, or here it is, args. You can see here array of 3 parameters. So I'm getting here a Subaru Impreza and 2010. Then I will get a super constructor, and let's see what we'll get here. We'll get here brand, type, and a produce year as before. Okay, now we can assign this. All right, category will assign as before. We are getting here category of a K-man and the rest of parameters, and simply we are getting all of the informations here. Brand, category, produce here, type is here, so we can console log out correct informations of our Subaru Impreza, and this way you don't need to specify all of the parameters when you know in which order you are specifying them. Okay, so under these arguments you can see we just get all of our 3 parameters at once. All right, so this way we are getting arguments, but as you saw, we need to specify here exact order of our data. What if we will provide here object? So I will do small change. So just maybe to provide you the other idea how you can create your racing car and how you can initialize your data differently is to just simply send the object. Okay, so we'll do a couple of changes. Let's say instead of providing here 3 different values, we'll send only 1 value, and we'll specify here in this 1 value, which will be objected 3 different keys for each of our values. Okay, this sounds a little bit weird, so let's see it in action. I'll wrap it in a curly brackets like this. I'll write this in the curly brackets, and also I will wrap the last value in a curly bracket. So there is a notation for objects, right? But this will not work because we need to specify here a key for each value. So our first key will be, let's say, of course, this will be brand. All right, this will be type, and this will be, you know, that it is year or produce year. How are we specifying this? Just year is fine. Okay, so year. Let's do the same for our second car. I hope you can see it properly. All right, so let's get here brand, type, and the year. Perfect. And let's do the same for our last car. So this will be category. All right, this will be brand. This will be type. All right, and also year. Okay, so now I am specifying only 1 value here, only 1 object. This will get to my constructor, so I can specify here. I'll get here car data, for example, car data like this. And simply to car data, now you know that we need to access our keys here. So when you want to get a value, you need to access your key on your object. So car data, I need to provide here brand, car data dot type. All right, and a car data dot year, and here I will just simply access car data dot category. All right, let's save this. Let's take a look on this now. All right, and by the way, in this way, when you're specifying object like this, you don't need to maintain here order. So I could write here type before brand and so on, because I'm getting these values from my object. Okay, so now when I will run this, let's see how we will create this car. Let's go inside. So step into. Let's see, constructor car data is an object, as you can see here, with a key brand category type year. I'm providing this data to a superclass, so car data.brand, Subaru car data.type, Impreza car data.year, 2010, and a category in the end, car data.category, which is a K1. All right, and this will get here, perfect, and we have our racing car. We'll display our info, which is correctly created. All right, but something wrong actually with our. All right, oh, okay, I know what's happening. Since we changed our syntax here, we are providing object, we need to also change it here, right? So we are getting here car data as well into our car class, so car data here. And of course, you need to get this data like this, car data.brand, car data.type, and car data.produce here, of course. And now everything should work. So when I will run this, I should see our data. So display and something wrong. Okay, so we have here undefined, and K1. All right, that's very interesting. So, all right, guys, I know what's actually happening. Since we are providing here object, this will be now a little bit weird, but I need to do these changes. We are providing object. We need to provide also object to our superclass. We cannot just provide here 3 different data, because in our car we are expecting to get an object now. So let's treat it as an object. So simply let's forward car data here like this, and now everything should work. Okay, we'll debug it, but let's see it for now how it works. So let's run this, and you should get correct data now. All right, there is just a year missing, so there will be something wrong with the year. So let's see what's wrong with the year. Let's go to our car, and this should be car data.year, because this key we are specifying on our object, and now it will work. Okay, so now when we will run it, you will see that we are getting all of our data. All right, so let's see one more time. Let's debug it, and let's get into constructor. So let's step into. Now you can see car data is object, the same object we are providing to a superclass, and here simply in the car data we are getting this object, and we are extracting brand, Subaru in this case, type of a Impreza from our object, and from a year we are extracting year and assigning to a produce year for a local property of a car class. So this will get here, produce year is here, and should work. All right, so one more last change. Let's go to our racing car.js. And as before we use spread operator, we can use also spread operator here, but here we don't need to maintain order. Since I'm expecting to receive here object, I want to get here object, so I will provide here object, and this is like this creating like a new object with this syntax. We are getting here car data, and we want to destructurize here. This is actually called the destructurization all of our car parameters. So I can get here car params or something like this. And the second value will be for our category. So I can extract this like this from our object. So car params, and now I can assign car params to our super constructor and our category to our category. And now everything should work as before. So let's run this and let's take a look. Or actually, all right, rest element must be the last element. All right, so okay, I think in a Node.js version of JavaScript this is not possible. I thought that it will work same as on ES6 syntax. Don't worry about it right now. Okay, we need to maintain also order here. So when you want to destructurize here, you need to manually specify your category first and the rest of your parameters here. So I will get here car parameters like this, and let's see what we'll get here now. So I will run this. Let's go to racing car, and let's see what we'll get here. So car params will be our brand, type, and the year. All right, and the category will be K1. So when I will get here to our category, to our car, we will get here our car data, which will be object. Or you can see here object, the Subaru Impreza and a year. We are sending this data here, and then the last one, a category. We'll get category from our object here, and then we will simply create our instance of a car, and we'll display our car info. So this is a different way how you can initialize your data, how you can initialize your instance of a class. In this case, of a racing car or a car. You can provide an object. In an object, you don't need to provide an order of your data. Okay, so I can specify these keys as I want, in which order I want. But remember, when using this structurization, actually in spread operator here, you need to provide a spread operator as the last value here, as I did a mistake, as you could see. But then we can learn from an error that we cannot use this in a Node.js environment, in the current version of a Node, but it's working a little bit differently in the frameworks I will show you after this section. But don't worry about this right now. Everything is working. Now you know how to get your parameters as the one, okay, and category separately. Alright guys, I think that should be. That was a lot of talking. I am sorry for this, but I find this topic is really important, so I hope you understand so far everything. If you have any problem to grasp some concept, just write me here on Udemy chat. I will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. I know that maybe some things doesn't make sense right now why we are learning these things, but you will understand over time when we will be creating a real project that everything will come together and it will start actually makes sense. But okay, that should be it. So guys, that's it, and I hope to see you in the next lecture. Cheers guys.